I got called in by an officer on the Joint Staff who told me that, he said, you know, we're going to invade Iraq. I said, but why? And he said, I don't know. He said, I guess because we don't know what else to do. But in fact, the why of it went back a decade to the spring of 1991. It went back to the argument inside the Republican Party about whether or not the Gulf War should have ended with the capture of Baghdad and the overthrow of Saddam Hussein. And in 1991, when I talked to Secretary Wolfowitz, you know, he said, we didn't get rid of Saddam Hussein, and we should have. He said, we've only got 5 or 10 years to clean up the Middle East. These old Soviet surrogate regimes like Syria and Iraq, get rid of them before the next superpower comes along to challenge us. We didn't foresee that we'd actually be using force aggressively to change regimes. And it appeared full-blown after 9/11. And somehow, in the minds of the American people, the attack run by Osama bin Laden, based out of Afghanistan, became part of Saddam Hussein. And to retaliate and make sure that, and it was phrased in many different ways. There was effort in the intelligence community to prove that Saddam Hussein had somehow been connected to the strikes in New York and against the Pentagon. And then there was the idea that, well, but he might have some weapons of mass destruction, biological, chemical, nuclear weapons that he could give to terrorists, despite the fact that Saddam Hussein and al-Qaeda couldn't have been further apart in terms of working together as allies. Now, if you put them under enough pressure, maybe, you know, they would team up against the United States, but we created that pressure against Saddam Hussein for our own reasons. What were those reasons? We've never really heard. There was no single reason. There was, yes, there was some weapons of mass destruction possibly that were still there, but we'd had 10 years for the UN Special Commission. We'd had the strikes, Operation Desert Fox in December of '98, taking out all the sites that we knew about then through intelligence. Maybe there was some unaccounted for scuds that they said had been fired in training. Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe there was some material that you could, culture material that you could grow bioweapons in, but there wasn't much that I knew of. And so, and I'd been reading all the intelligence until I retired. So I began to see that, and I thought back to the conversation with Wolfowitz, and I thought what I'd been told inside the Pentagon, and I began to smell something that didn't smell right.
The world is holding its collective breath today as Donald Trump makes an urgent trip back home from the G7 early to deal with the escalating tensions between Iran and Israel. Until now, Donald Trump has largely stayed out of the conflict, only urging both sides to make a deal. But this move may indicate an escalation of US involvement in the war, particularly as it comes as Trump sent out this message on Truth Social saying, "Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame. And waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran." But escalating tensions in the region with no end in sight has forced Trump to make a move, cutting his G7 appearance short and rushing back to the US to meet with the National Security Committee for talks on how to best proceed.
I have to be back. Very important. I want to just thank our great host. He did a fantastic job. Thank you. In Canada. But you probably see what I see. And I have to be back as soon as I can. We're going to have dinner with these wonderful leaders. And then I get on the plane. I have to be back early for obvious reasons. I loved it. I tell you, I loved it. And I think we got a lot done. Really a lot done. In fact, UK, we signed a big trade deal today. And we're working on others, but we had just a really great relationship with everybody, and it's really nice. I wish I could stay for tomorrow, but they understand. This is big stuff.
Online commentators were startled with the abrupt change, with this person saying, "Breaking. Donald Trump is abruptly leaving the G7 summit ahead of schedule, skipping tomorrow's agenda to return to Washington, D.C. This isn't just a scheduling change. It's a flashing red siren. With tensions between Israel and Iran nearing a boiling point, this sudden move signals one thing. the United States may be on the verge of entering the conflict. Forget diplomacy, war posture is setting in. This may be the most dangerous 24 hours of Trump's presidency and possibly the world's. But other commentators are calling for calm, with this person saying, "I didn't think I would have to clarify this, but this post is in no way indicates that the US are about to strike Iran. Israel just said they are going to strike Tehran again, so Trump said, get out. Just observe. Wait and see what happens. The hysteria is out of control." But it seems that the people on the ground in Tehran have heeded Trump's warnings and are getting out. And the nervousness surrounding Trump's movements has only been heightened after China put out a call for their citizens to leave Israel immediately through land border crossings. Pete Hegseth also added to the tension by releasing a statement that confirmed American capabilities were deployed to the region to keep US forces safe. He then went on to double down on this, saying American safety remains Donald Trump's #1 priority.
So you're going to be in the Situation Room pretty soon with the president. Is he still aiming for a nuclear deal with the Iranians? Of course. The president's, as he said today, his position has not changed. What you're watching in real time is peace through strength and America first. Our job is to be strong. We are postured defensively in the region to be strong in pursuit of a peace deal. And we certainly hope that's what happens here. And America first means we're going to defend American personnel and American interests. So when you see jets and you see air defense assets and counter UAS assets, that's because my job as the Secretary of Defense is to ensure that our people are safe and that we're strong so that we can set the conditions for a deal. And President Trump's made it clear it's on the table. The question is whether Iran will take it.
U.S. President Donald Trump has requested that the National Security Council should be prepared in the Situation Room as he returns from the G7 summit in Canada. This according to reports which the White House spokesperson later confirmed to CNN. It may be recalled that Trump was seen in the Situation Room during his first term along with the then Vice President Mike Pence and other senior advisors when America's drone strike killed Iranian Major General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad in 2020. The Situation Room is an intelligence management complex on the ground floor of the West Wing of the White House. It was established in 1961 by President Kennedy after the Bay of Pigs disaster, which revealed a need for a centralized crisis management center. It is in this very room where former President Barack Obama and his top aides watched the raids that killed Osama bin Laden. While it is unclear what will transpire in the Situation Room this time, it's important to note that Trump has rejected his French counterpart's claims that he is leaving the G7 summit in Canada early to work on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran.
What specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here? And then a real end, not a ceasefire. And then so something that would be positive. Yeah, or giving up entirely. This is okay too. Are you closer? Is that possible next week for White House? Certainly possible. Complete give up. That's possible.
The U.S. president further said Macron had no idea why he was on his way to Washington, adding that it had nothing to do with ceasefire, but something much bigger than that. Earlier in the day, the U.S. president said that Iran should have signed the deal he had told them to sign. In a post on his Truth Social network, Trump stressed Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, something he admitted he has said over and over again, and issued warning to those living in Tehran to immediately evacuate. This, while Pentagon is expanding its military deployment in West Asia. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said He directed the deployment of additional capabilities to the region. Posting on social media platform X, Hegseth said, protecting U.S. forces is our top priority, and these deployments are intended to enhance our defensive posture in the region.